Well, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne of Texas joins us now. Boy, this is a real about-face for a lot of Democrats who initially, they heard from the New York Times article about emotional abuse, heavy drinking, toxic relationships, physical roughness, and they all put that behind. And they said he sought redemption. And now one of those same women is saying, it took it to rape. Platner says there's nothing there, nothing to see. What do you make of his response?
I think Ro Khanna and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders also ignored, and poo-pooed the Nazi tattoos, the fact that he admitted having rape fantasies, his social media on basically child predator sites, the fact that he's a self-avowed communist. These are all things that they were like, doesn't matter. As long as this guy can win, as long as he can win in Maine, we don't care. We're just going to keep plowing forward. We're going to keep doubling down our support for him. And finally, there's enough on the table that they're like, okay, the equation has changed. He's no longer electable. But we've seen Democrats do this before, right? They're going to continue to support somebody until they know that he can't win. Exhibit A, Joe Biden. How long did they keep that, that basically vegetable walking around and trying to prop him up as if he was going to be, and have another 4 years in office? This is what Democrats do. This is not about character. This is about control. This is about power. They thought he could win, and they were willing to put up with almost everything until that everything proved that he, was no longer going to, the math didn't work out, that there's no way that he could win.
Yeah, Congresswoman, that was a great point regarding Joe Biden, because I think that just, again, is another example of how far the Democrats will take this until they say enough is enough, which ultimately here, I guess this was the final straw. But Maine's Democrat Party put out a statement saying, quote, over the past several weeks, multiple women have made serious, credible allegations against Graham Platner. Today's statements take those allegations even further. Maine Democratic Party leadership is calling on Graham Platner to withdraw as the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. Also, as we've been talking about, Congressman Ro Khanna, California Democrat, who stood by Platner, even as a candidate faced previous controversies. He said this new allegation was enough and Platner should drop out of the race. Ruben Gallego also coming out and saying, condemning him as well, and many others. But thoughts on this switch up by Democrats, because now where do they go from here? I mean, Platner has not stepped down, but it does seem highly likely that he will, one would think.
Well, Eric Swalwell said the same thing, that he was not going to step down until the party, bosses basically came in and said, yes, you will. I think you're going to see the same thing for Platner. It would be interesting to see the conversations that are going on in Ro Khanna's office or in the New York Times editorial room, after they completely blasted and blew off a very credible woman who had detailed conversations about and told the New York Times exactly how this man had harassed her, sexually aggressive toward her, and they blew it off because they considered her a conservative, a Republican, and they didn't give her any credibility. And now again, how many voices, how many women have to speak and talk about the atrocities that this guy has committed before they start listening? Apparently this was one. CNN gave her credibility by putting her interview on, and so that was it. But up until now, they have completely silenced the women who have stepped forward. Right. So I'm glad to see the about face, but it's a little bit too late.
Yeah. When do you believe the women? If you believe the women all the time, why didn't you believe the women then? And why do you believe the woman now? It is more difficult because she is a self-declared liberal who supports all those policies. But it has been very interesting. He's still got Bernie Sanders sticking by him. Bernie Sanders is not calling for him to drop out. So we'll see. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, thank you so much.
Great to see you. Have a good morning.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.